Hey guys, what's up? I'm Nikhil from dopemotions.com and welcome to this brand new After Effects tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to create a really cool looking splatter logo reveal in After Effects without using any third-party plugin. So without any further ado, let's get straight into After Effects and get started. Alright, so here we are in After Effects, so let's start by creating a new composition. This is gonna be our main comp, so let's rename this to main. 1920 into 1080, 30 frames, 10 seconds looks good, and hit OK. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is drag in the BG, and by the way, I'll provide everything in the description below so you can download the the elements that I'll be using in the project. So let's drag in the BG, make it 3D. Okay, looks pretty good, and maybe I'll just scale this down, or maybe I'll just bring this a bit closer, just like that. Maybe something like this. Okay, and a pretty quick color correction on this, so let's bring down the contrast a bit up, something like that, and pump up the blue a bit, just like so. So now it looks better than before, as you can see. Yeah, pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the texture into a new composition, just like that, and we can just rename this to texture, and then add an effect called liquify in After Effects. So let's select the layer and add liquify. There we go. Then I'm going to go into the warp tool and set the brush size to 100, and make sure the smudge tool is selected, and basically what I'm just gonna do is drag in, creating a splatter just like that. Just hold, click and drag, something like that, and then I'm gonna drag inside just like so. There we go. And now if we animate the distortion percentage, you can see we have something like that. Pretty cool, right? So I'm gonna set it to somewhere around there, to around 120 at the very beginning, and create a keyframe. Go to 2 seconds and set this to 0. So now we have a simple animation just like that, as you can see. Let's select the layer and hit U so we can see the keyframes. Select the keyframes and hit F9 to ease those keyframes, and we are good to go. So let's go into the main comp and drag in the texture composition. There we go, and I'm going to rename this to Splatter _01, and then I'm going to add a scaling animation to this. So let's go to 20 frames maybe. Create a keyframe, go back in time, and I'm going to set this to 0. Also turn on the motion blur, and now we should have something like this, as you can see. Really simple to do. Let's select the keyframes, hit F9 to ease those keyframes, go to graph editor and drag the handle just like that. So our animation starts fast and then settle down slowly, as you can see. Maybe a little bit more, maybe I'll go to 1 second. So now we have something like that. Pretty cool. Okay, pretty cool. And then what I can do is set the blending mode to multiply. So now we have a really cool looking splatter, as you can see, and make sure it's 3D, and bring this a bit closer so that it doesn't overlap over the background. So I'll just push this a bit back, like so. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to duplicate it. So create maybe 3 copies, put it somewhere around there, rotate it a bit, and scale this down a bit. And by the way, make sure to be on the last keyframe and scale this down just like so. Maybe something like that. Select this one, we put it somewhere around there, scale this down, something like that, and rotate this up, something like this. Okay, maybe I'll create one more copy, so hit Control D, somewhere around there. Let's rotate this up a little bit more. Scale it down, maybe something like that. Pretty cool. So now we have something like that. And then what I'm going to do is give different colors to the splatters. So I'm going to add actually color balance HLS. Let's play around to see and find out a really nice color, maybe something like a green on this one. Also we can play around with the saturation and lightness. I'm going to set the saturation to 10 maybe, and let's see. Okay, I'll set the lightness to 0. Alright, so let's copy this up. Hit Control C to copy it, paste it on another one, and give it a different color, maybe something like that. Paste it on this one, and maybe I'll just give it something like this color. Paste it on this one, hit Control V. Let's give it a different color, maybe something like, let's go with something like this one. Looks good. And then basically we can just displace this a bit, maybe around 10 frames. I'll displace them by 10 frames, something like that. So now we have something which looks like this. Pretty cool. Yep, very happy with this. And then what I can do is I can select the fourth one maybe, or maybe I'll just go with this one, the main second one. Hit Control D, put it behind, and let's change the color so you can see it more properly. You can make it pink maybe. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this up a bit more. Let's go right over there and scale this up, something like that. And obviously bring this back a little bit, maybe place it somewhere around there, and scale this up to 150. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the color balance, we don't need it, and add a fill. Make this white. Also set this to normal, the blending mode to normal, and place it somewhere around there. And I'm going to add vignette blinds to this. There we go. Let's set this to around maybe 50, something like that, and rotate this. And add a roughen edges to this. There we go. I don't think we can use the fill. Maybe I'll just put it right over here. Okay, and let's play around with the settings, something like that. Okay, looks pretty good. Scale this a bit more, something like that. So now we have a little bit of more randomness to the animation, so place somewhere around there. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Maybe I'll just place this at 20 frames, and I can just duplicate this, hit Control D, and rotate this up, something like that. Place it somewhere around there, and displace this a bit. Or maybe I'll just use one. I don't need the sixth one. This is looking a bit more better. And maybe I'll just duplicate the sixth one and get rid of the vignette blinds, and just decrease the opacity a bit, and also rotate it, so something like this. This would look really cool. Let's see. Yep, this is looking really nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composition for our logo. So let's rename this to logo. Hit OK and drag in any logo that you want. I'm going to drag in my logo and drag the logo composition right over here, just like that. Maybe I'll just scale this down a bit, something like there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the sixth one, hit Control D, All right, and bring up the opacity all the way up. Place it on the top of my logo and scale this down. So we can just place it, go to 3 seconds and drag this keyframe just like that, and scale this down at the size of my logo, so somewhere around there. Let's place it, and we can you can turn off the 3D. We don't need it to be 3D. We can just rotate this up, something like that, and then set the logo track matte to alpha matte. So now we should have a really cool looking logo reveal. As you can see, looks really nice. Maybe I'll add a bit of roughen edges on this one, so let's add roughen edges, and let's solo this up so we can see it more properly. And let's increase the border, maybe scale this down a bit, increase the complexity. Okay, that looks pretty good. And there we go, there we have it. So now we can go ahead and start animating with our camera animation. So let's pretty quickly pre-comp this. Let's call this logo and hit OK. Make it 3D and bring this on the top. So let's drag it into the Z position just like that, and scale this down a bit just like so. There we go. I'm gonna place it at 2 seconds maybe, and we can displace this even more, so maybe around something like that. And then we have our logo reveal. Maybe I'll just bring this a bit closer. Okay, this is looking pretty nice. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new camera pretty quick. So right click, create a new camera. I'm going to set the camera millimeters to 20 millimeters and enable depth of field and hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is to around 20 frames. I'm going to crop this up by holding Alt and close bracket, because we will be using 2 cameras. So for this, let's place it somewhere around there where the animation is completely in. Let's bring down the camera properties, create a keyframe on point of interest, position and Z rotation. Go to camera option and create a keyframe on focus, distance and aperture. So let's hit U so we can see just those properties, and then we can go ahead and start to animate the position, the rotation. So I'm going to rotate it maybe around 45 degrees, something like that. Maybe rotate it a little bit and play around with the position a bit. Something like that. So maybe I'll just set the point of interest for X to maybe, let's go with 940. Set this one to 600 maybe, and set this to around 35. Then set the position to around 825. This one to, let's go with maybe 800. Let's go with 800. And set this one to maybe minus 400. There we go. Let's set the rotation, the Z rotation to around 45, and set the focus distance to 500. There we go. Now I know it's not in the exact position, so I'm gonna select my camera to place it somewhere around there. Let's zoom out a little bit. And then place it somewhere around there. Maybe rotate this a bit more, something like that. And also play around with the aperture. Let's bring this really up. And also I'm gonna scale the background, so let's make this around 130. So we have something like this. Let's place it in the center and maybe rotate it a bit. Just like so. And go into camera properties and increase the aperture to all the way up to 700. So we get a really nice depth of field, and then we can play around with the focus distance. So what I'm going to do is basically get rid of this keyframes, delete it, and drag this keyframes at the very beginning, just like that. Go to right over here, 20 frames, and rotate this up. So let's create a keyframe at the Z rotation. Let's go to 20 frames and let's set this somewhere around there to maybe, let's go 30. So now we have a little bit of animation, as you can see. Also, I'm gonna animate the focus distance, so maybe I'll just move it a bit right over here at the very beginning. Let's see how it looks. Pretty cool. Maybe I'll just bring this a bit closer. Yep, that is looking actually pretty cool. Maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. So let's zoom out a little bit. So I think this is looking really nice. Okay. Maybe hit U and bring back the camera a little bit, maybe. Something like that. Let's see. Yep, very nice. Then what we can do is create a new camera. This is gonna be a 35mm camera. Let's crop this up from right over here. So we have two different cameras. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is maybe I'll make this camera to around 2 seconds, and let's place this right over here. Let's hit U so you can see the keyframes and drag those keyframes right over here. Then we have our second camera. So let's go into transform and place it in the position that we want, so somewhere around there. Also play around with the focus distance. So maybe I'll just increase this up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into position and zoom up a lot, like so. Be somewhere around there, I guess. Create a keyframe on the Z rotation and rotate this up to somewhere around 45 degrees, or maybe let's go with 55 degrees. Okay, what more we can do? Maybe increase the aperture a bit to around 100, or maybe let's make this up to 200, and focus distance really close, be somewhere around there. Create a keyframe on the aperture as well. So hit U so we can see just the keyframes. Go back in time to around 4 seconds, and then we basically need to just push this back just like that. Also bring up the focus distance and also bring down the rotation to 0. Now we have something like this, as you can see. Let's set this to full so we can see it more properly. or maybe half would work. Let's push this back somewhere around there. Focus distance up just like so. Perfect. And then we can play around with the aperture as well, something like that. So now we have something like this. Pretty cool. Let's select all the keyframes, hit F9 to easy ease those keyframes, go to graph editor, select this and drag the handle just like that by holding shift and control. So now we have a really cool looking animation. So I'll just preview it pretty quick. There we go. Really nice and easy to create. And then I'm gonna at the end add a zooming animation. So let's create a keyframe, go to, let's say, maybe 5 second and 10 frames, and let's zoom in a little bit, just like that. So far, let's see our complete animation so far. Okay, this is looking actually pretty good. We hit U and drag the keyframes at the very beginning, just like that. Really nice. And then at the end we can also do some color correction. So let's create a new adjustment layer. Let's rename this to CC for color correction. Add some curves adjustment to it, something just like so. Just a touch. Pretty cool. And add a vignette. Let's rename this to V for vignette. Add a curves adjustment, bring this really down. And then what I'm going to do is go to project, and I can see a panel. Go to window. So then make sure the vignette layer is selected and double click on the ellipse tool. Just like that, invert this up, and maybe I'll just drag this a little bit closer, just like that. And feather this up to around maybe 600. And yep, that looks pretty good. And there we have a really nice looking vignette as well. And I think we are done with the animation. Looks pretty good. Maybe it's a bit too darker, so let's bring this up a little bit. Also play around with the CC. And I think our animation is completed. Looks really nice. So let's preview it pretty quick. So there we go, we have a really nice looking Splatter logo reveal in After Effects. Looks really nice. And also one more thing that you can do is add a light leak at the camera where the camera changes, so you know it won't look like a jump cut. So let's do that pretty quick. So here I have a light leak, and I'll provide the link in the description below so you can download it as well. So let's place it right over here, and where the camera changes I want the light to be really heavy, somewhere on there. Let's set this to screen, and I think this should work pretty good. So let's check this out. Yep, that is actually looking pretty nice. Yep, that looks cool. So as you see, it is really simple and easy to create this really cool looking Splatter logo reveal in After Effects. So that is a wrap for today, and soon I will be doing a Q&A video. So if you guys have any questions, any queries, do let me know in the comment section below with hashtag AskDM, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible in my next Q&A video. So yep, don't forget to subscribe, comment and like, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care and thank you so much for watching guys, and don't forget to stay raw, stay creative.